All right, previously, my last two videos showed how to make this screw part and how to make the nut. So with those two parts created, I wanted to do a demo video on how to put them together. And I realized somehow in my 20 plus years of working with Creo variations, I had never used a screw relation. Now the screw relation is very straightforward and simple and on-shape to apply. I figured it would be fine to do here in Creo, but it did give me a little bit of a challenge. Okay. So a couple of things I have going on here. So you can see I did get it. So we have the screw relation included in here. So this is an assembly. Let's go back for a moment. I've got my screw part that comes in and it's just a default on the origin. And then my nut comes in and I have that as a cylindrical constraint. So the cylindrical constraint allows it to translate and to rotate. I did set a translation stop point. So I did set that the minimum would be 0, and I also have a maximum of 80 as a variation or limit in the translation. So I can go up past the end, but not really much past that, and it will stop when it hits the bottom. So that cylindrical connection, actually, let's just do it this way for now. Normally I wouldn't have the gear on there yet. We need to be able to translate and we need to be able to rotate. Okay. I have no, actually, one method I saw online was to apply a slot constraint, a slot connection. So that's another option that's out there where essentially you have a point on the nut that follows a line on the screw. The other thing I did kind of before I got in here is I actually in drag components. There we go. I want to disable my gear pair. Okay. I did kind of play around with this a little bit until I could take a cross section and see that the threads were lining up kind of appropriately. And I took a snapshot of that. So the flush is where these two faces are flush to each other. And the threads are fairly engaged. Now, so many comments about modeling in Creo with this, but one, you do not need to assemble your nuts onto the bolts in most scenarios. Oh, I guess cross section here. Just activate it. There we go. So you can see that I've got those mostly engaged correctly. Again, most of the time when we're modeling, you don't need it. A lot of times when you have fasteners, you don't even have threads. So this is all kind of a vanity project, I guess I would say. But drag components, really powerful tool, lots of stuff going on in there. All right, so now we are into the mechanism mode. And I'm going to delete the gear that I have. Oh. And we'll re-add that. Okay. So now this can slide up and down, it can rotate, but it definitely doesn't have that screw connection. Okay. So when we're trying to add connections, we can see that there's gears, cams, belts, and contacts. There is no screws here. So screws are considered a type of a gear in Creo. This would be a generic gear pair. So you can see screws not listed here. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to relate the translational motion and the rotational motion of the cylinder. Okay, so the motion axis, I find the easiest way to make this work is expand out joints, expand out the connection, and you'll see that you've got both the rotation axis and the translation axis available here. I did try using, so there's my translation axis and, oh, there's the rotation axis. I found it kind of challenging to try to pick those from the main window. So we'll go with rotation axis is our first gear. And then on gear 2, we'll select the translation axis is gear 2. And then under properties, I'll switch to user defined. And essentially this is our pitch, which is 5 millimeters per revolution. And kind of hard to tell if this is going to work or not, but I will click OK, use Control Alt, and it looks like as I try to go righty, we are not going the right way. So we will find our gear connection in our mechanism tree and just flip one of those. And now if I, yeah, I feel like it's still going the wrong way. Let's try this again. Right click at definition. Oh, let's try flipping that one. There we go. Now we got righty-tighty. There we go. So to see it in motion, I've applied a motor. My servo motor has a speed of 360 degrees per second. So this is going to take about 15 revolutions to go up the entire length. So that analysis, kinematic analysis, I don't really care about mass or gravity. So I'm going to run 15 seconds. So 1 revolution per second. So I'm going to run 15 seconds. The motor is going to go the entire time. I am going to start with it at the bottom. So I'm going to use my snapshot that I created, the flush snapshot, and that's going to be my initial setting. And let's see. Okay. So that kind of looks, let's see when we do the replay if it's going the speed and doing what we expect. So we can now go into our playback and we can hit play. All right, we can change the speed. We can have it come back down once it gets to the top. There we go. So I had somehow never created a screw relation in Creo before, and now I have. So again, you're going to create a cylindrical constraint in the, or connection, sorry, a cylindrical connection in the assembly. In the mechanism, you're going to apply a gear that's going to have the pitch as your relationship between your rotational axis and your translational axis. So I hope that helps someone out there. It was a challenge for me the first time through, so I wanted to be able to provide some helpful feedback for anyone else trying to do the same thing. All right, take care.